listening to right now is Prescott, Arizona Music Royalty as we hand the mics back over to the Howling Coyote Tour. Mr. Jim Sobo will be taking over for episode number 205 this week. We are recording in one of the historic buildings right here in Prescott, Arizona, the Prescott College Sam Hill Warehouse, an arts collective for the college. What a beautiful building and what beautiful folks we're hanging out with today. You're going to be hearing, again, Jim Sobo taking over the mics for the Howling Coyote Radio Hour. And his guests today, Jonathan Best and Garrick Rawlings. Coincidentally, all three of these individuals are past guests on the Mile High Show. Go to milehighshow.com and you can hear their past episodes. Garrick's been on 3 or 4 times. Jim's been on 2 or 3 times. Jonathan Best was on once a couple of years ago with Danny Fisher as the host. This is the perfect example of why I wanted to do this show. So you, the listeners, can support local artists, local musicians, local creative types. And you know what? Support me too. Go to milehighshow.com, use that Amazon link. And that's it. Listen to this music. I'm going to tune out. They are taking over. And then you will hear from Jim Sobo of the Howling Coyote Tour with his guests, Garrick Rawlings and Jonathan Best.
Third episode of the Howling Coyote Tour radio show. This is Jim Sobo. If you don't know what the Howling Coyote Tour is, every year I take local singer-songwriters up to the San Francisco Bay Area for the last 14 years. This will be my 14th year. And I showcase them. The artists come from all over Arizona, sometimes from different parts of the Southwest. And I take them up to the San Francisco Bay Area each year, and I showcase them at several different venues. We do some radio, and it's just a wonderful concept. It's been my honor and privilege to be able to present this concept. Over the last 14 years, you can go to www.howlingcoyotetour.com and check that out. I'd like to thank Mr. Matt Santos with milehighshow.com for allowing us to do these podcasts, and we're just going to jump right in. We're going to start off with Mr. Jonathan Best. I have 2 wonderful guests here. Mr. Jonathan Best, who is a legend, not only here in the Southwest, but also on the East Coast. He's traveled overseas. He's internationally acclaimed pianist, singer-songwriter, vocalist. I won't even talk about his style because I'm going to let Jonathan talk about that a little bit. And then we've got Mr. Garrick Rawlings. Garrick, the first time I met Garrick, he was at Coyote Joe's, which is how this concept got its name, Howling Coyotes. And Garrick has just grown and developed, and now he's got a new album, and he's on Pandora. So this is going to be an amazing, amazing hour of music and performance and chat about music and independent singer-songwriters that I feel compelled to let people know about. So let's start off with Mr. Jonathan Best. Hi, Jonathan.
Howdy doody.
Howdy doody is
How's
right.
It going?
And we're sitting here right now in an amazing structure. We're at the Sam Hill Warehouse, and it's a historic structure. It's right next to where the railroad used to come through Prescott, Arizona, and there's a little remnants of the railroad here. And who knows how much longer this is going to be around. So this is kind of an honor just to be here as well. Jonathan did a tour last year. Jonathan, tell everybody a little bit about your tour last year.
Well, I did a couple of mini tours. They were down to Tijuana, to San Diego, and L.A. Just it was the Build the Bridges tour, and that's what we're going to do again this summer. It's going to be bigger all across the country, but it's all about crossing divides and connecting people through music, and encouraging more music making amongst just regular folk.
That's awesome. And
real folk music.
If anyone has had the honor of seeing Jonathan play, Jonathan loves to get the audience involved. And Jonathan has an organization called Commusiki.
Very well said.
Yes.
A lot of people
Tell us about that.
Well, Commusiki, the way to remember it is music is the key to community. So everybody's got it. Sometimes it's hidden a little bit, but we try to bring it out as much as possible. And I'm just trying to encourage more people to play music.
And listen to music and learn music.
Yeah.
And
so it's a 501c3, so we accept donations. And we have our pet project is the Build the Bridges project. And we have a movie that every time someone sings the song, the Build the Bridges song, I got footage from places just, where I've been. Cool. And different people singing. We got it in Spanish. We have it translated into Spanish, Russian, Arabic, Hebrew. And we're looking for more languages.
And you were at a barber shop as well.
Yeah, I just stopped into a barber shop and, just trying to get people, and then teaching them the song. And
yeah, it's such a great song. And if anyone comes to our next show featuring Mr. Jonathan Best and Mr. Garrick Rawlings,
we're both going to be there?
You at the same time.
Plus you, too, right?
With Mr. Jim Sobo at Mark's Beer Garden on Friday the 19th, this upcoming Friday from 6 to 9 p.m. at Mark's Beer Garden in Prescott, Arizona. You'll get to hear that song. I'm very, very sure of that. Jonathan, can I get you to play?
Yeah, well, you want to play that song?
Sure, that'd be fantastic. Yeah.
So if we point this mic... And this, by the way, the piano that you can see, they can see out of this mic, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
See
yeah,
it's
the reason why I do radio is because I've got such a great face.
Right.
Right.
I got the piano for radio right here.
And you made that piano, right?
Well, I didn't build the piano, but I put the wheels on it.
Yeah, it's a
this
portable.
piano,
so it didn't go before.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just didn't go. So now, but it goes. It's been, up. Well, actually, it hasn't been all up the coast yet.
But
this is going to be at the show.
Yeah, and what you did is you made a portable piano that you put into the van, and it's incredible.
Yeah, I have a what's it called? I have a winch. Don't say anything. Okay? I have a winch.
I thought you were single.
See, I say don't say anything, knowing that something will be said.
Well, you had a pregnant pause there. We had to.
So, pregnant.
Can I interject for just a second? For a professional musician, an artist, somebody who has spent so much time on stage, can I just say that Garrick has the worst mic handling I've ever seen in my life?
Well, that's why he's not handling it anymore.
That's why I went hands-free.
What were you doing?
Trying to get this thing off the table.
Okay, now that we got that off
I needed to make it erect, man.
Okay, but anyway.
Okay.
This is a portable piano, and you actually got this into the van, and were able to play throughout Southern California, and you went actually into Mexico. And
no, I didn't bring this piano.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No, I walked because I was walking across.
Oh, okay.
So, but I brought like a lot of
other instruments, right?
So, okay, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Bridges, just start singing along. You'll get it. Every verse is exactly the same except for one word. See, I'm doing this. Notice how I'm doing this backwards. Gonna love everybody I see. Gonna love I take down the walls. Everybody gonna build the bridges, not the walls, not the walls. We're gonna build the bridges and we're gonna take down the walls. We're gonna build the bridges, not the walls, not the walls. We're gonna love everybody, everybody I see. Gonna love everybody even if they don't think like me. Gonna love everybody, everybody. Gonna love everybody even if they don't think like me, like me. Woo!
Nice. And to the rest of the world, this podcast emanates from the state of Arizona.
Yes, it does, from Prescott, Arizona. Prescott, not Prescott.
Not quite known for building bridges these days.
Right, exactly.
So
which is
happy to have this seed planted right here.
exactly.
Yeah, we're trying to. The thing is, we're trying to build bridges wherever they aren't built.
Right.
So, and we're trying to take down walls too, but don't want to shake too many people up on that.
We want to
People are afraid of taking down walls for some reason.
You know what? You know what you can build good bridges out of? Old walls.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Well
that is
said.
awesome.
That's a great one.
So now let's go back. Let's go back in time. Jonathan Best, I think you can, if you just put in the word Jonathan Best on a Google search, you'll see your website.
Unless there's the bass player.
Oh, is there? Oh, there is. Okay. And Jonathan Best, the piano player.
Right, you have to put piano player.
And you'll see the breadth of history that comes out of this man musically, originally from
New
where?
York.
From New York City?
Yeah.
Okay. And in New York, you played with several bands there? Or?
Well, yeah, I mean, in New York, there's a lot of bands to play
Right,
with, so
right.
I was playing all the time.
When did you start playing? Like when you're 13?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Probably 12, 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's actually when you started to record, right?
Yeah, because I had a little recorder, and it actually the race head didn't work, so I could do overdubs, but I didn't even know why. I just discovered that when I would record, it would keep the old thing.
Wow, that's amazing.
Stroke of luck.
Yeah.
And so originally you recorded on LP. I think there's some LPs around here, maybe.
Yeah, I did. I recorded some 45s and
some
LPs and stuff.
Yeah, amazing. And I don't even know if anyone these days even knows the technology behind.
I was thinking of doing a wax cylinder recording, because I do actually have a wax cylinder recorder.
Wow.
But it's
Yeah.
not functioning.
That's what
too
Jack White got in his.
Did he
thing
do one of
back
those?
in-
Really?
Yeah, he bought one of the old actual, like an arcade machine with the wax, the booth where it used to be.
Oh, they had a booth.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Neil Young recorded a record on it, and a few
'Cause-
other people. But yeah, direct to wax.
So maybe there's other people with bad mic technique here.
Oh, I have horrible mic technique.
No, we're
now
taking
back in the
stuff
day,
out, right?
there
You're gonna
we used
edit
to
that.
record on 1/2-inch tape as well. I don't know if anyone even knows what that is anymore.
It's the good stuff.
Yeah, it's the really rich sounding, beautiful music that we used to hear on LP back in the day when it had some depth to it. Digital has kind of taken a little bit of that away, although there is some analog digital.
That's what kills me about it. It's cool that the vinyl has become but it's kind of hipster cool. And they have to sell you, same with CDs, they have to give you a download card because most kids don't have the vinyl players anyway. But they sell them. I see them in the department stores, these like we had when we were kids, little vinyl players. But what cracks me up about it, for audiophiles, what you liked about vinyl was the analog recording of the music. But now they're taking digital music and putting it on albums, so the sonic reason doesn't even exist. It's like it actually sounds better on a digital player than a digital on a vinyl. So it's
really?
it cracks. There's some guys you have to be rich to be playing on a.
So when you buy an LP now, buy a new release from a new artist on LP, and you drop a needle on it on a turntable, it doesn't have that same analog quality.
Well, it just has the analog quality plus the digital quality, which is a bunch of ones and zeros.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Interesting.
there's some that do it
That's
analog still,
amazing.
but the vast majority,
Right.
because it's
Yeah.
not cost effective to record.
And then, Jonathan, I hope you don't mind me asking or saying, you've brushed heads with some pretty famous people in this
Jim
lifetime.
Sobo.
Myself,
We brushed, remember?
we
Remember?
brushed around a campfire.
Yeah.
yeah. I think
can't
we
brush
slept
with
in
Matt
a
anymore.
sleeping bag next
Just
to
rub.
each other for about 10 days. There was a lot of brushing.
What did
going
we
on
do?
there.
We were
in a tent. Yeah, we were in.
Oh, we were in a
sleeping
tent,
bag,
okay.
That our tour, which was our tour was about 4 years ago. Now,
No,
No,
it
was it 3 years ago?
2 years ago.
was it 2 years ago?
Because it wasn't last year, and it was the year
It
before.
was the year before, so it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
God, it all just flies away. So yes, tell me about some of the folks that you've had the honor of playing with over the years.
I don't know. I start to feel like it becomes. I get uncomfortable. You know.
Yeah.
Like, because it's like, is it really about the music? You know, I've toured, done some really amazing tours,
Right.
and I don't know. I just feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I understand.
I'd rather talk about like the
understand,
people,
right.
like just the love.
Yeah, we'll talk
That-
about the ones that were horrible.
Well, you know, they all have horrible qualities
We all
as
do.
well. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I mean, I was freaked out a lot of the time on that one that you're probably
Right.
talking
Yes.
about.
Yes.
I hate to be
Yeah,
secret.
no.
It's just my own.
No. It's
I
true.
I feel
Sometimes
secretive. It's sort of like
when you play around folks that you admire, possibly.
Let's just get it out there. He was the fifth member of Led Zeppelin. For
I was backstage. They
he
wouldn't
taught
let
John
me
Paul Jones everything he knew on
because I had the
keyboards.
face for radio. They didn't want me on the stage. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, you're right. Like I actually that's something that as a fan of music, there's a lot of folks that I admire and are influenced by that I don't want to know because I don't want to know who they are as people. You know, I want to keep them in that image or that vision as how I see them
Don't meet your
than
heroes if you can help it.
rather than who they possibly are. Their actual personalities from day to day.
Yeah.
It could crush my vision of them.
Right.
And
It's sort
how-
of like not even about who they are as people.
Right. And so just let the music kind of speak for itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. Would you like to play another song?
Sure. Like, what would you like to hear, and how long should I play?
I'm very much advocate original music. So any original that you're inspired.
I haven't really thought about this.
Yeah.
I haven't written a song in a while.
yeah.
I know there's got to be. I can't think of one
It's
offhand
okay.
that I want to play.
So you think about that.
Okay.
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 Garrick Rawlings. Garrick, tell me how you first made it here to Prescott, Arizona, and
Don't know if I've made it yet. How I got to Prescott?
yeah,
Well, I lived out. I'm from a Midwesterner originally, and I moved out to L.A. when I was 24 or 25, a couple years ago. And but I had a great aunt, my great aunt Dixie, the youngest sister of my grandma. 6 sisters back there, farmers in Illinois, and she lived here in Prescott. Before I ever moved out west. So once or twice a year was my escape from L.A. And if you grew up in L.A., didn't you? Or
all over.
was-
Yeah, I lived in the Bay Area.
California boy.
Yeah,
And you know how it can get over there, and you come up here and you get some fresh air and some space. And
Yeah.
then when my life went off the rails in L.A., finally,
Yeah.
I came out and had a nice little retreat and got
Was
things
it-
back together. And
When did you first get into playing and starting to write original music and maybe finding your voice?
It was high school. I grew up in a real hillbilly town called Sturgis, Michigan. Everybody says Sturgis, South Dakota, where the Harleys are. No, we're the original Sturgis, Michigan. It's rural. We're halfway between Detroit and Chicago. So unlike the West out here, we're 2 hours outside of Chicago. It sounds like nothing out here because people will drive 5 hours to Vegas or 6, 7 hours to LA and not think of it. But anyhow, we didn't even have rock radio where I grew up. So it was, I'm 53 now, but I was already a pretty mid-age teenager before I even knew what Led Zeppelin was, because we grew up in that era of Journey and REO Speedwagon and who were good in the 70s, actually. But so my mom was from Chicago, so I'd stay up all night. This is the typical old story with your radio under the covers, listening to the Loop and all these XRT, these great stations out of Chicago, playing whole albums and stuff. And I'm like, holy crap! Coming back to Sturgis, and what happened? I'm wearing Zeppelin T-shirts and stuff, and they're doing the backward masking Christian stuff on the radio. They're secret satanic messages and music. It's like, that's what I grew up in. but a kid moved from I never thought I could even play. There was nobody in my family or in the town that said you could do this. The typical Midwestern work ethic thing. And then a kid moved in from suburban Chicago, and he had an electric guitar. I think it was probably a sophomore in high school, and he could play a few songs, and it was like, taught me a few chords, and just the magic of an electric, it's powerful. And got into it that way, and got into the hard rock, and always wrote, but I never wanted to sing. Then I ended up going to college there. I thought it was for another 4-year excuse of finding guys and getting a band together, and then it never happened. And then long stories cutting short, I got married in and out of it in L.A. my whole life of music, and then got out of it, got into a pretty decent band right after I got divorced, and then guys my age now, a couple of guys were in Greg Allman's touring band and stuff. I'm playing some high caliber guys here, but it's just like every level. Half of them are on cocaine, half of them are getting paid this, some aren't getting paid. And one day, you guys getting paid for rehearsal? The new young guy, Anyway, it all fell apart within a couple of months. I was just hanging on for dear life. And that's when I needed to start singing my own songs, or I'll never get anywhere trying to have a band in that day and age. And then I ended up going on the road with Ramblin' Jack Elliott and road managing him and opening shows, learned all kinds of everything about being a solo guy from that guy, and just built it up from there. It was... So I started putting it together. People always ask me, how do you do it? And I'm like, it wasn't easy, man. I had that whole wall in my head about singing and playing. Like, I can't play drums good. Like, how do you get 10 rhythms going at the same time? Piano players with their 2 hands going. How do they do that? And I got it down to simple Neil Young songs until I just separated that huge thing in my brain that let me free it up, and I still have my troubles learning new songs or writing my own. But yeah, that was the breakthrough, and I've just been chasing that ever since. Yeah. Still like playing loud electric guitar, but mostly solo.
Was there a moment for you, Jonathan, when you decided I'm gonna do my own thing, and I'm gonna have my own voice, and I'm gonna have my own style? And
yeah, pretty much when I was 13.
Wow.
I kind of knew that's my only way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just down.
It took me 17 years to figure. It was like 30 when I finally figured it out.
Okay. Did they hear that?
Yeah. So when you were 13
you got the headphones.
Is when you first.
When I was 14, this is what happened. I was 14, and it was like a community event, and the local band knew that I was writing my own songs and stuff, and they had an electric piano. And he invited me to sing a song. I was 14, and it's just suddenly people heard me. I felt like I was invisible all my life. And then suddenly everybody was paying attention to me. And it was a complete game changer for me. From then, I was like, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
There's no question about it.
Would you, I'm going to ask both of you, and this is the standard interview question, but would you say that there's anyone that you were influenced by that you saw come through your music, or different styles of music or categories of music, or is it for you, it sounds like it's just well, it's a whirlpool, yeah.
but there are, I would say maybe two, there was these people came over with a record, Memphis Slim. Mm-hmm. They brought by Memphis Slim, and they said, hey, this guy sounds like you. And I said, wow, he sounds like me. He's sounds.
I have to get out my old Memphis Slim album.
Yeah, listen to Memphis Slim, and then you'll know what I sound like. And so I realized he was like my first mentor, really.
Wow.
And then, but really,
I would
like,
never guessed that from the performances. That's because you've gone so far beyond the blues that. But it's all
well, I
based
feel
in
like
that.
blues is everything.
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
everything I do is blues.
No, I totally get it.
Really, you know that. And so
I say that because if you haven't heard Jonathan Best, his chops are over the top. So to hear him that it started with the blues is heartening. And Memphis Slim,
Yeah.
he's
See, it's
he's
funny,
Chicago
like
guy.
I never thought of myself as a chops man. Like I always thought, like I'm just, songwriter, artist kind of person. But then the other one is Bob Dylan. I know it's like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Bob Dylan. Everybody's like,
can you not?
Yeah, I mean, but he was the
Cliche,
one.
but it's
It's funny how
like
some of these
it's like
cliches.
Beethoven of
like-
of
I mean, Beethoven
kind of
too.
music.
Like
Yeah,
he's an
it's-
influence, and but what he gave me really was permission to be vague. Like I could just like write songs that no one knew what I
made me
meant.
think of Joan Baez's lyric. Her song
Yeah,
about
yeah.
him, about
Right.
what Diamonds and Rust, where she says she has a line about him being vague,
Right.
which is
and
so right
and
on.
it's like that's what poetry is. It's
Yeah.
like you don't know what they're talking about really, and because it goes beyond words, it goes beyond.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Was that you that said the post today that where artist was? You had the quote where an artist was. I think it was Bukowski. Somebody put it on the.
It
thing
wasn't
today.
me.
Well, it said an artist.
Bukowski, me and Bukowski.
Yeah,
man, we're like-
an intellectual can make something complicated sound simple, or one or the other. I'm obviously not an intellectual. But
well,
because
you're going beyond words right now.
yeah,
Like,
the
you're taking
intellectual
us-
can do this, but the artist takes something complicated and makes it simple. Or no, the artist takes something vague and makes sense out of it, where the intellectual takes something complicated.
But
and
you're
makes it
you're
simple.
taking something very simple and making it very vague.
Or
And
complicated.
I interrupted your flow. My apologies.
Or complicated. Yeah, and if anyone's seen Jonathan, just to remark on
Give the number to call.
on
'cause-
Garrick's 1-800 on Garrick's remark is that Jonathan is always to me part of your spirit has always been very evolutionary and very experimental and open to
Yeah,
all different
everything's an
types
experiment.
of media and just whatever you can incorporate to make it something new and something exciting, something kind of engaging. And for the folks that are watching, it's not just you don't just sit there and watch, Jonathan. You usually participate. Okay, now
Can I say something on that thread before I forget?
yes.
I didn't mean to take over the show.
No.
But
Yeah.
for a while, I hosted an open mic at what
At
was
Joe's.
what
Yeah.
was called the Brick and the Bones back then.
Brick and Bones, yeah.
And as you know, you've done this kind of work. Like you're having a couple. You're putting my scrappy ass on stage Friday. Go ahead. And but and the point of those things is to let anybody play. But most of what you get are amateurs, and rightfully, I'm not criticizing any of it. But once in a while, you get a pro up there like Jonathan. But Barney's your job as a host when there's these gaps of people that are scared and stuff. You kind of do a little interjection, say something or something, and then Jonathan was up there. Like we were inside because it was cold, and I knew you were, and I knew your music. But all you were doing was getting your sound together. And so I came in and started to say something just to get. And he cut me a look like this.
What?
He cut me a look, not out of line at all, but it was like, "I got this, man. Let me." I forget how you did it, but it was so good to have because I totally got what you were doing. Shut up, man. I got this. You said it the most polite of ways.
What were you gonna do?
No, I was just getting on hogging the mic to get. I felt a lull in the show, so I was getting on mic and I was ad-libbing something, and you gave me a look like, "The hell are you doing? That's my time." Not being rude at all, but you were like, "You're right." It's been a while
Okay.
since I had a pro in the
Well,
room.
I'm glad we finally
Let-
brought this to
let-
the surface
let me-
now, after all these
Let
years.
me walk. No, there wasn't anything negative about it. It was just like, hey, I forgot we got a pro on this stage because everything what Jim was just saying, the spirit, the musicality, and the whole freaking thing. Aside from the music, he's got a great stage presence in the rap anyway. So I just
So now you were saying that you had you had originally toured and were a road manager for
Ramblin' Jack Elliott.
Ramblin' Jack Elliott.
Yeah.
Was he an influence, or like where did some of your, as far as what you hear coming out of your music now?
Oh, absolutely. Because especially from a solo guy, Jack, he wasn't much of a writer. I think he's only written a handful of songs, but he was known as a master interpreter. Like even Woody. He was. If you don't know Ramblin' Jack, look him up. But he was the last guy that toured the country with Woody Guthrie before Woody got too sick.
He actually, Bob Dylan is credited him with helping him to get his sound.
That's the
In
old
fact, he told Bob to shut up and sing your heart.
Right.
Stop trying to sound like other people.
Yeah, it was Dave Van Ronk, the Pope of Greenwich Village, that Jack. Now I'm starting to feel like Jonathan. I hate talking about the people that I do, but Bob Ramblin' Jack was over in Europe busking with that banjo player. Can't think of his name right now, and he was out of the country when that whole Greenwich Village folk scene began to boom in the late 50s and early 60s, before Bob Dylan, before the Beatles and all that. The whole rock and roll thing was on a lull because Elvis was in the army, and the good rock, Bill Haley was drunk, and the crooners were taking over, like Pat Boone and Donovan. They were all gentrifying the rock and Pat Boone doing the Little Richard songs in a real saccharine,
I never
dumbed down way. And so that's what allowed this music to come in. And Jack had recorded a couple EPs over in Europe, were his first official recordings, and he was legendary amongst the scene. And then it's in Bob. He even wrote it in his book. He stole those records from one of his female friends at the college that he was going to in Minnesota, and he got to Greenwich Village with this whole story about being a cowboy and running. It was all bullshit, just like Ramblin' Jack's story. They're two Jewish guys from Jack was Elliot Adnapos, son of a Jewish doctor, and we all Dylan's Bob Zimmerman, and Bob gets to Greenwich Village and he's trying to be Woody Guthrie, and Van Ronk said there's already a guy that does it better than you will ever do it, and he did it better than Woody ever did. Even Woody said it. And like the famous story, Don't Think Twice, where Bob heard Jack doing it in Gertie's, or one of the famous old Greenwich Village clubs, and he says, I bequeath it to you. You'd sing it better than I ever could. So that, the way he could work a crowd as a solo artist, and he has a real beat jazz sort of way of improvising on the guitar within his songs and the other songs that he does. And he goes from Hoagie Carmichael to Hank Williams to Hank Snow to Woody and everybody, and Lead Belly and Jesse Fuller and all. He's all over the map that way. So yeah, he was a huge influence on me as an adult, like in my early 30s. I had some of his records before I got to know him. That's a whole other story. But yeah, that going in that direction, because I was a huge Neil Young and Johnny Cash fan, and Dylan, of course, I always admired those guys. As an electric guitar player who didn't think I could sing, still don't. I always admired those guys that could go out with a full band, they could go out with a little band, they could go, if the band didn't show up, they could play solo. And I was like, I want to, when the bass player doesn't show up, I want to say, or the drummer, I want to be able to still do his show and not rely on the guys. Right. And that, now I'm scared the other way. I don't want to get a band together and have to rely on those guys.
Yeah, there's something to
Funny
be said.
How times change.
There's something to be said about going solo. That's actually
the energy of
that's
the
one of
band, big
my
time, though.
prerequisites for the tour, is that you have to be able to play your own instrument, write your own songs, and sing your own songs, and perform your own songs.
So not like the Monkees, you wouldn't take them out.
No. And God bless Peter York. He just passed
Peter
away.
Tork, yeah.
Tork.
He wrote one of their, and Nesmith wrote a few of theirs.
And it turns out like Peter actually was a great musician.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I saw this where he was auditioning. He was ripping it up on the guitar.
Yeah.
What was Linda Ronstadt's first? Nesmith wrote, I think, Linda Ronstadt's first hit.
Oh,
I
really?
can't think, when there was the Stone Ponies, her band before she was solo.
Oh yeah,
Before the Eagles were her band, before they were the Eagles.
I think the big hit was.
I'll know it if
it
you
was
say it.
with a different drum.
Yeah, different song. I think that's a
wrote
Nesmith
that?
song. I'm pretty sure. Wow. You guys can Google it.
So, Jonathan, doesn't have to be an original. Play anything that you would like.
You know, maybe I don't know. Do we have? How much time do we have?
Well, we have plenty of time. This is an It's the Howling Coyote Tour Radio Hour.
You singing? You can sing?
Yeah.
Let me get this over.
Maybe I'll do this Bob Dylan song.
I hear he's good.
Start singing as soon as that mic is up. Once upon a time, you dressed so fine, you threw the bumps of time in your prime, didn't you? People call, they say beware, you're bound to fall. You thought they were all kidding you. You used to laugh about everybody that was hanging out. Now you don't talk so loud. Now you don't seem so proud about having to be scrounging around for your next meal. Went to this finest school, all right, but you know that you only used to get juiced in it. You never taught you how to live out on the street. Now you find that you're gonna have to get used to it. You said you never compromise. With a Mr. Tramp, and now you lie. He's not selling any alibis. As you stare into the vacuum of his eyes, and you say, would you like to? Come on now, would you like to come up and make a deal? How does it feel? Tell me, how does it feel to be without a home? Like a complete unknown. Put this on the steeple, all the pretty people that just are drinking and they're thinking that they got it made. Exchanging all the precious gifts, but you better take that diamond ring, you better pawn it, brother. You used to be so amused, and Napoleon in rags and language that he used. Go to him now, he calls you, you can't refuse. When you ain't got nothing, you got nothing to lose. You're invisible now. You ain't got no secrets to conceal. How does it feel? Tell me, how does it feel like a complete unknown. Like a rolling stone.
So that was Mr. Jonathan Best playing a song that we don't need to introduce in his interpretation, which is absolutely gorgeous, just absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That's like might be my, I don't know. It's a masterpiece of a song.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
And I even left the verse out.
yeah, no,
But
I
was like too
know.
much. I couldn't throw it all in there.
I know. No, it's if you don't. I mean, the beauty of an interpretation.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to covers, I mean, really with this tour, I want to promote original music. You know, I want people to hear people playing original music. I want people to write original music and feel free to express themselves. It's such. I mean, music saved my life if I wasn't able to express myself with it. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would not be alive today.
No.
I can guarantee.
Yeah. No doubt.
Without music.
So, I just want people to hear the artists that I showcase, to show them that.
Okay, well, I was going to do an REO Speedwagon song.
But I feel
You
like
just blew my plan.
What I was
I'm
leading
gonna go back to
into-
Loverboy. I love the
what
Canadian
I was leading
rock.
into is that despite, even though most of the stuff that I personally play is original, when I do decide to do a cover, I want it to mean something to me, and I want to be able to pour myself into that and make it mine in my own way. You know,
I don't cover a song unless I felt like, I wish I wrote it.
Right.
And there's a lot of covers maybe you could relate. There's some covers I learn that I know I can never do any justice to as a singer, but I just want to know how it goes.
yeah.
How does it feel to play a masterpiece? Or there was some. I might have brought this up on one of your previous shows, Matt, where I forget who the writer and author was. He goes, I just had to type out. I forget whose story it was, but they just had to type it out on an old typewriter just to see what it felt like to. I wouldn't have the patience for 400 or 500 pages, but a 3-minute song, just to know how.
Yeah.
I may never put it in my repertoire, but it's like I just wanted to know how they got there.
Or expose people to songs that they probably have never heard.
Or-
that was a favorite little gem
Absolutely.
from your past that you are almost sure that no one's ever heard, and you want to expose people to. That's a great way to do a cover too.
Yeah, because that song to me, actually, a lot of people I don't think are aware what it's really about. And to me, I mean, it has its own personal meaning to me, but I feel like it's something like what we're going through right now, this country. Like,
No
people
doubt.
don't realize that it could be you next.
No doubt.
And I think it's
Yeah.
good to get a little reminder out there.
Yeah.
People are a little too freaking comfortable with how soft our
Yeah.
lives have been
Yeah.
in this country.
Right.
You've traveled, and you guys have traveled. It's a blessing. As bad
Yeah.
as we can sit here and bitch about what we got here, it's still
Look at
light
this
years
grit.
ahead of.
We got 4 white guys, man. White men.
Well,
we could
Matt, well, just
right.
we grandfather old Matt in here.
All right, so Garrick, let's introduce everyone to Mr. Garrick Rawlings. I've had the honor to watch you just blossom in this town, and so please play us an original, play us a cover, whatever you
I'll do
you
one
feel
off the new
comfortable.
record.
Okay, cool.
This one's. I was lucky enough to get Perla Batalla to sing backup on this. The song's called No Tengo Palabras, which means I have no words in English. And I'm going to talk about how great it is on the record and not have her here. But when I was doing my demos here in Arizona, I wanted to show Rick Shea, the producer. I really want a native tongue singing Spanish singer to sing with me on this song. And I couldn't find anybody around here to do it. And then I thought, well, L.A., I mean, there's a few Latinos in L.A., I reckon. And we couldn't find one either. And then Perla, God bless her. If you don't know who Perla Batalla is, she sang and co-wrote with Leonard Cohen and toured with him and on a couple of his albums. And I took a stab. I'm new to all the Facebook stuff, and then I complain about it and I hate it. But for not these modern tools, I would have never found Perla. I just cold contacted her on the Facebook, and I shouldn't even reveal these secrets. But just explain what I was doing, and I got it. And the best I thought I would hope is maybe she had a protege or friend that would, help me out and help them out, that kind of thing. But her first move was, I'd really rather communicate via email than Facebook, so I loved her right away. I go, me too. God, I can't stand this. And sent her the song, and we worked it all out, man. She, I want to do it for you. And so I got her on that. And
did you send it to her?
Yeah, I sent it. No, my producer Rick Shea out in Covina, in his garage. These are all garage. It looks glamorous on the CD. We recorded in Los Angeles and Highland Park and in Prescott, Arizona, but they're all our garage studios, but with excellent guys, That's as much as I bitch about technology, you can make wonderful stuff in garages these days. Yeah, it's the people. Yeah, exactly. And she came out with her daughter. Had tracked it. We had the whole. Well, I think we added a little more later, but she just tracked it with us in the garage studio, and her daughter was right there. When the daughter was grooving to it, I was like, okay, that's a good sign, because she's a college age girl, And she's a beautiful person. Cough button. Like you'd brought up earlier, you, Jim. Maybe you don't want to meet the people you admire so much just for the sake, but she was one of the best. Like, after we were done, lots of pros, you get them in the studio, they do their parts and then they leave right away. And she could have sang one part and left, and I would have been happy. Yeah. But she sat there and sang, a regular harmony thing, and then did a couple variations, and then said, I want to do 3-part harmony on this, and just beat it out. We're just going, holy, this is just amazing. And then sat down and told us wonderful stories about Leonard Cohen, touring with Leonard, and what a bitch Jackson Browne can be.
Oh, stop. No, don't even say that. I love Jackson Browne. All right, let's hear that song.
It's No Tengo Palabras. I have no words to explain. Touch, I'm out of pain. I don't care, I can't contain tears of joy fall down just like rain. There ain't no words for a masterpiece. Your hair, your face, your tiny little feet. I climbed a cliff, I took a leap. Picasso paints, Chavella sleeps. Este amor apasionado. Ya no puedo cantar, solo toco la guitarra, porque no tengo palabras. Na 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 na, no tengo palabras. Na 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 na, no tengo palabras. Solo toco la guitarra. I have no words to describe
what I see behind your big brown eyes. I feel the fire I feel inside. I feel for you just like a child. Este amor apasionado. Ya no puedo cantar, solo toco la guitarra porque no tengo palabras. Na 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 na, no tengo palabras. Na 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 na, no tengo palabras. Solo toco la guitarra.
There you go.
So, tell me a little bit about the new album. What did you acquire enough songs that it was time to record a new album, or
it was the album before my life went off the rails in L.A. It was the album I was to make back in 2007.
Yeah. Yeah,
with some newer songs in between there.
Yeah.
But
listen to this album and hear all about your life going off the rails.
Not really. I left the bad ones out.
Oh, okay.
That was kind of the inspiration of that. The first song and that song. There's the second song. It was about a relationship, and I had a whole song cycle album, but they were all miserable, suicidal, the most horrible, gut-wrenching, heartbroken love songs ever.
Song.
Yeah, I got a bunch of them. But one of my close friend, knew the whole situation of my music. I remember when you were with her, you were like the happiest I'd ever seen. Don't you write anything about that? And I'm like, who the hell writes when you're happy?
Yeah, everything's cool. You don't need to write a song.
So actually, no, I have an EP loaded up and a whole other album ready to go. I just need the money to get it to get it recorded. So
excellent. And then this is also on.
So it's a little bit of mix of the older stuff with the new, which I can kind of do with the next one because I'm not prolific by any means, but when you don't put anything out for 10 years, you've got some stuff, you got some stuff to get out there. So I'm in a good place right there for that right now. Everything's it's really nice.
And your songs are on Pandora now, right?
Are they? I have to. I know I'm on Pandora's. Like, what do they call? There's a name. There's a host. I'm not saying it right, but they actually review it before they put it on there and stuff.
Oh,
so
okay.
I didn't get on there right away, so I'll have to go look it up. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Because it was a stroke. Because you're on the CD Baby thing, and then they say you're on all these other things, and then you go check, and you're not really on them, and you have to go put extra stuff on there, and then I wasn't on Pandora. Oh no, this is I almost had the word. Like there's custodians. There's another better word for it, of these playlists and stuff. Housekeepers. No, but I'm just. It took me 10 years to get caught up with 2007, so I'm trying to move forward.
Yeah, no, that was an awesome song. It's great to hear people
all true
appreciate different forms too. Yeah. That's half of the.
We
the-
can't live in
the
LA for
job.
20 years without picking up some Latin music,
Yeah,
which I've
yeah,
always
yeah.
loved anyway. So
And what a beautiful heritage and
guitar music. I mean, it's
rich,
all
yeah,
Spanish based.
history
Really.
of music. Los Lobos.
Love those guys,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Just just really like heartfelt, just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful music. Would you play another one for us?
Yeah, man.
Great. And while he's doing that,
What kind of song?
again, this Friday, the 19th of April, we'll be at Mark's Beer Garden from 6 to 9 p.m. here in Prescott, Arizona with Mr. Jonathan Best.
I
and
haven't been to the new Mark's.
Oh, it's
Beer
fantastic.
Garden.
Mark
There's
has
a lot
done-
musically going on down
Yeah,
there.
he's-
I've been out of town a lot lately,
Yeah,
but I see there's stuff.
he's done an amazing job with the venue. He smokes meat there. He's got an incredible tap list.
say something
He's
else.
present. He's an owner-operator that's present every single day. So
Well, I'm looking forward
even
to
though
meeting
it's
him.
called Mark's Beer Garden, Mark is there every day to say hi. And I think people in small towns still kind of
A
appreciate
lot of places
that.
failed around here because of
Right.
the lack of that. I would
Right, yes.
venture to guess.
They want to
Yeah.
meet the person and have the person invest in
It's not easy work, but it's also not rocket science.
in the
It's
community, right? So Mark's
There
a great
goes
guy.
my
Come on
vocabulary.
down and meet Mark. He will be there, and he'll serve you a cold one, and we'll be there this Friday, the 19th of April, between 6 and 9 p.m. with Mr. Jonathan Best and Mr. Garrick Rawlings.
And Mr. Jim Sobo.
Jim Sobo will be there as just kind of a fly on the
He's
wall.
part of the franchise.
You're not
Yeah.
gonna
We don't have
you're
to
gonna sing
advertise
some
him.
tunes, right?
Oh, of course, I'm going to sing some.
Should I do my
If
protesting song?
you're gonna sing from the wall, huh?
Maybe. Yeah, since it's the Build the Bridges,
Yeah.
I should.
I was thinking of the wall, Pink Floyd.
Okay, no.
Should I do Eye of a Thief? Should I do Eye of a Thief? It's my one real protest. I got reviews on this. It's a band album, but there's 2 songs that I do solo on, and this is one of them. Oh, these are the kind of songs you wish you didn't have to write. Eye of a Thief. There's a man in the mountains. He bled out the Russians. We provided the weapons because we were friends then. I forgot how it goes. There's a man in the mountains who bled out the Russians. We provided the weapons because we were friends then. Then he turned against us. He sent planes to kill us, waging a war of deceit, choosing allies with the eye of a thief. We got a leader who says he's got God in his head, but our proud Constitution is laying in ruin. All these insurgents are a minor disturbance, never admit defeat. With a swagger and a smirk, the eye of a thief. There's a cardinal in the cathedral who preaches against evil, but the justice in his kingdom is relocate to freedom. The priest in his sacristy uses children immaculately, new virgin flesh to feast. Ye, the eye of a thief. Well, the slick corporations and the lobby formations have hijacked our Congress, our freedoms and regress. Well, the phonies and the cronies, they never leave. They take no punches, they just bob. And they weave. Or open dope. The eye of a thief. Used to build everything, soon we'll build nothing. What a strange sensation to outsource the nation. Our representations, transparent truths, they don't serve me, they don't serve you. Serving somebody, yeah, a thief. Our representations, transparent truths, they don't serve me, they don't serve you. Serving somebody with the eye of a thief.
Is that one also off the new
Yeah,
album?
that's the one. Yeah, it's just
Okay.
like it. It was me and the.
Great.
It's actually a demo. They used the demo. I played that to the band out there, and they were like, "Why don't you just use that?" I'm like, "Oh, thanks, guys."
All right, so I'm gonna end the show with 2 more questions. Okay, fantastic.
So many.
Because this is called the Howling Coyote Tour Radio Hour. Jonathan, were there any stations that you used to listen to? Folks don't really. They're back in the day. There was a time before Sirius XM and before Pandora and before we had all of our own devices.
90.1, 89.5, right here in Prescott. Undercurrents and that station out of Yuma. Sorry to interrupt.
No.
It's good roots music, man. Real radio.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. What was
You
that?
should send your music down there.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was in Prescott.
It's out of Yuma. Well, they broadcast here. That's
Oh.
out of the college station out of Yuma.
Okay.
But the station here also broadcasts Undercurrents out of the Bay Area, which is a Native American
Oh, okay.
network of
Undercurrents.
roots
Right,
music, and also the college down there. And they play. It's funny to hear the young college kids. They like to mispronounce names that are in our DNA. I was thinking about it on the way up. It not as bad as Springsteen or something, but almost that bad. Where and here's a great song from somebody. You can tell they're just reading it because they didn't grow up with a guy named Bruce Springsteen. And it's not the right guy, but you hear stuff like that. You're like, God bless them. They're trying so hard to play the good music and.
Yeah, it's, 90.1 here.
90 point.
Yeah.
I don't know the call letters. 90.1. Well, Tom Agostino's folk session shows gets broadcast on that. Yeah, and 89 out in the valley. It's 89.5. It's a weak signal for sure, but it's really good music. They can stream it.
Jonathan Best, when you were growing up, was there a radio?
WBI. Listener-sponsored WBI public radio in New York City.
Wow.
Did you grow up in the city?
Well, outside of the city, north of the city.
Yeah.
And
What were they playing?
the thing is, it was like mostly talk, but they would play some weird stuff, man. They played like I got introduced to Schoenberg. You all dig Schoenberg, right?
I don't know, Sean.
Completely like atonal, no tonal center, just sounds
Ambient.
not ambient at all, very in your face.
I don't have to
like-
look up Schaumburg.
Yeah, look up Schoenberg.
To me,
Yeah.
it was a suburb of Chicago, but
Huh. And but that was just one of the things. Larry Josephson just blew my mind. And then they had some late night stuff, where I got introduced to the Magic Bus, with Who, and then later it was really what was that? It was out of East Orange, New Jersey. It was WFMU, and they would just play. They had no. It was freeform radio, so like the DJs each would just play whatever they came to mind, and I was always trying to get my stuff on there, and there was a couple of DJs that would be willing to play my stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, it's usually those late night sessions, when you're hiding in.
Yeah, that's
in
when you hear it.
Your bedroom, and you're supposed to be asleep already, and you're trying to get that signal.
You dial it in,
Right.
It's just like,
Oh gosh, yeah.
See, why can't we do that anymore? The digital thing, man, it lost all the nuance.
yeah,
Like,
really.
like between stations, you can't go between stations anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I've been working out in Sedona, and you can 89. I have it in 89.5 because I'm right between Prescott and Prescott Valley, so it depends on the stronger signal. But going out that that cutoff, going down 169 to get on 17 going north, you pick up the Phoenix classical station, KV 89.5 down there. So you go from Roots, you can go from like Muddy Waters to freaking Chopin, and back and forth through, like clear as a bell, back and forth all the way through. And sometimes somebody's riding with me and they're like annoyed as hell. Oh, I love it. I'm like, you go
It's
through,
like a mashup.
Yeah, it mashes it up, and then you're like, and then always ends on the
I
best
know
part of
those guys would love playing together. Chopin, and he's man, totally. I could see those guys jamming out.
No,
They're all musical.
No doubt.
Yeah,
Was
like
there-
Chopin introduced a lot of jazz people, like influenced a lot of
No
jazz
doubt.
people.
I think jazz, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but to me it seems like the intersection between classical and blues kind of, like it's kind of...
I feel like that's one way to describe it because
Yeah.
there's no
To
way
me,
to
yeah.
completely.
You're right.
It's
Yeah.
one. To me, it's
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
more finger on the chords of the blues chords.
Yeah.
Or two.
Let's try
Or
one
two.
more. Let's see.
Let's,
How about a 7-string
Let's
guitar?
yeah.
See
Let's
what
go.
happens.
Let's go more than 2 notes on the chord.
And Garrick, did you get any stations that you heard out of Chicago, like every now and then, or like?
I couldn't pull them in from where we were, like in the. I love those old stories of the old days because the 50,000 watt WLS
Right.
out of Chicago, like all kinds of country guys picked up the rebroadcast of the country, out of Nashville and Memphis, but the airways were too crowded by then. But there was out of Angola, Indiana, WLKI. David Christian, I still remember him. He was a top 40 radio station, but at night they had a DJ that could play albums. So I remember him. But in Chicago, and they're still there. WXRT, still a great indie station. Not unlike Undercurrents in the 90.189, where they can go from Zeppelin to a Latin song to a Sinatra to Memphis Slim to Jay Giles from the 70s or something. It's just wonderful stuff. And well, back then the Loop was a big one, and WLUP in Chicago was a big one. But I just spent a month in L.A. and it was funny. K-Rock, which was one of the famous.
Right. That was new. I thought that was San Francisco.
I think there's one in San Francisco,
Okay.
but the big one that's syndicated is K-Rock in
with
L.A.
Rodney
Bingheimer had his
Rodney
show.
on the Rock.
and-
Yeah, he
and
broke the
there's
Sex Pistols.
Sex Pistols,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
And now they had a 90s weekend. I was there, and I was like, I really couldn't tell any difference from the non-90s weekend because they're all
Yeah.
playing the same shit, and it's good shit. But there's a few new things, but it's almost the same playlist as when I moved there. And because to me, as far as popular rock and stuff music, the early mid 90s were the last great era where there was bands I would never buy their album, but I still appreciated hearing their songs on the radio. It's clever or nice, or it doesn't happen that much anymore. So
Unless it's completely independent, like if it's just people that you just randomly find.
there's
That's the good stuff,
they come
man.
around once in a while.
Yeah.
I can't even. I was gonna bring up one, but I couldn't even think of it. Yeah, but yeah, it's rare when there's a whole.
It's cool that the record companies, because I have a friend that was like, she was vice president with Blue Note or something.
We need to get her in here.
But she was like, no, this thing is crashing. We can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, thank God, man. I'm sorry you lost your job, but it's not serving us.
It was in one of the internet things I read today where there's, Blue Note was just as important as Sun Records and all the rock.
Back in the
of course
day,
it was.
Well, this is before. Then they were acquired by Capitol. Then Capitol took them.
They took over. Blue
Yeah,
Note?
and that's when they started.
Because Blue Note took over one of those other jazz labels back in the day. Even Prestige was it?
I was going to say that, but
was it-
even though I didn't know, but that's what came to mind.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, those cats were. I get that from y'all can probably relate. The younger folks that will hear my CD or something, and they'll, how did you get that sound? And I'm like, what? What do you mean? And I'm like, what? The band sounds really tight and everything. I go, well, there's 4 guys in a room doing the backing tracks together. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, you didn't do it separately on GarageBand? And I'm like, no, we actually, every one of those, there's 4 guys. I mean, we added stuff and sweetened it and did more parts, but of all the band tracks, every track is a band playing live together in a room. I mean, I was in an ISO booth because I'm singing, but there's a guitar, bass, and 2 bass, drums, and 2 guitars live on every freaking song. And they're, how did you get that? And I'm like, well, we practiced and
They have plugins
really-
for that, like
Yeah.
so you can sound like you're playing together.
But it doesn't sound like the plugins playing together, so they can't get. It doesn't sound like the plugin playing together. How did you get the playing together? So, well, we played together.
Well, just to drive a point home.
Let's thank to Rick Shea and Sean Norse and Dave Hall, and I got to give them credit. Couldn't have done without those guys. Jamie
is,
Shue.
The voiceover.
is that please, audience of the Mile High Show and the Howling Coyote Tour Radio Hour, check out independent, original singer-songwriters out there. They are out there. They're still out there. They're still trying to create, and go out of your way to try to find new, extraordinary talent. That's one of the great things about this age, is that we can have a living without a major label.
We don't need labels.
Yeah, we can create.
You don't need minor labels either.
Right.
No labels whatsoever.
We can create. We can
Prefer a
produce.
polyamorous
We can
label.
record.
That's your label.
We can perform.
Love every-
We can
love it all.
distribute. We can do it all, and it's all out there for everyone to hear now. So
All of us. We can
so
all do it.
Check it out and come and check out. That is the purpose
Friday,
of
Mark's Beer Garden.
the Howling Coyote Tour, is to
For
check
F's
out
sake.
new original singer-songwriters and just have it be diverse, have it be beautiful, and come out and support these people. Come down, Mark's Beer Garden, this Friday night, the 19th of April, from 6 to 9 p.m.
It's
Mr.
going to
Jonathan
be a good
Best
Friday.
and Mr. Garrick Rawlings.
Thanks to you, Jim Sobo.
Will be there, and I, of course, will be there. Jim Sobo from the Howling Coyote
What
Tour.
time will the van be by to pick me up?
It's not going to be a van. It's and if it does, it's not going to have any windows.
does the
and it's gonna
Gremlin
be a really
come by?
weird-looking guy.
Or is it?
that,
or
you
they trade
know,
that in for a pacer?
It'll be like a creeper van. Yeah,
It will be a
you're
bus
not
with
gonna want
tiny
that.
little
I got a
windows
song
along
about
the
that.
side.
But the only thing that's ironic about that is that you would be normally the guy in the creeper van driving.
Okay, so you had a song about that.
Right, exactly. All right, and I'd like to thank Mr. Matt Santos for being
originator.
here and supporting the Howling Coyote Tour Radio Hour. Check out milehighradio.com and check out. You guys want to plug your own?
Yeah, my CD. We didn't mention my.
Please,
actually,
yes,
my
please,
Flash
please.
album.
Yes, please.
I got Horned Beetle, with the Horned Beatles band, and then there's the Lollipops album, which is a retrospective of my life in music.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
And
they
we're
both will be available in USB
Could I?
drives. Oh, at the gig.
at the gig, yeah. And can folks find
Yeah,
it?
you could go to jonathanbest.bandcamp.
Okay. Fantastic.
Bandcamp's, I think, my
Bandcamp.
favorite one of
I
those
dig
things.
Bandcamp.
And
Yeah,
Garrick,
me too.
where can folks find your
Same thing,
stuff?
website, all those
What's the website's name?
GarrickRawlings.com
Excellent. Good job.
JonathanBest.com
/ Jonathan Best.
Excellent.
Building bridges across instrumentations and
All right, so we are going to end it with Mr. Matt Santos. Thank you so much, folks.
Thanks for having me,
This
Jim.
is the third episode of the Howling Coyote Tour, I'm pretty sure, and I will be back again. Thank you again. Please come down and check out these great artists. Bye.
Bye.
Beautiful, guys. Beautiful.